Is it that? Or is it?
You guys can carry on.
Please invite the member of opposition. Here.
I just want to say that just because you created the motion doesn't mean that you really understand the motion. We'll be the first team to talk about the individuals that matter the most, and that's the rakyat of that country, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be talking about four things. Number one, why on principle we shouldn't impede on economic transformation and innovation. Number two, how we balance the dynamics of power. Number three, how do we lower the barrier of entry to the economic framework. Number four, how do we empower people on the margins that want to participate in the services. Before that, 2 points of responses. Number one, we will contend from closing government opposition that sometimes when people want a better service, it should be the right of those people to access those services, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not just about things like aircons and television, it's also about things like efficiency, expediency, an objective measurable price at the point in which you engage in that service, ladies and gentlemen. Closing government contended in this debate that sometimes people can't jump ship, especially for laborers of the lower income bracket. We think that you can very well jump ship, ladies and gentlemen. That is why oftentimes sharing economies have categories of services that they allow for people to engage in, i.e. things like GrabCar and GrabCar Premium, Cowdim and Cowdim X, ladies and gentlemen. Smartphones, as of right now, are also quite cheap and Waze is like a free app, therefore people can still access these things anyway. Secondly, in a response to regulation, a contention in opening government. Number one, they told you that it's very hard to regulate because oftentimes it's an overseas manager that we don't see and we don't know what to do with these people. Number one, we think we're very happy to support local jurisdiction being able to mete out justice at the point in which justice is necessary, ladies and gentlemen. All of Sadiq's argument is an argument about bettering regulation and not about bringing or banning these services to totality, ladies and gentlemen. We don't think the opening government was able to prove the extent in which the services are displacing these industries, other than saying 60% in what country, I don't really know. But on a comparative, who better provides regulation and protection? Let's make this very clear. Just because you ban things does not mean that you remove these things in totality. There is a very high likelihood that these shared economies will still happen and happen without protection, ladies and gentlemen, and it's likely to go underground. We point to examples in which taxis use illegal CB radios to pick people up and beyond regulations. We point to an example of illegal sublets on Craigslist and Reddit telling people that you can come sleep on my couch. This is far worse at the point in which you have no ability to identify the service provider as well as no ability to protect individuals because you can often argue plausible deniability because these are unregulated services. Firstly, why on principle we shouldn't impede on economic transformation, ladies and gentlemen? We think that this is an inevitable change and something that we've seen happen time and time again. Things like post and snail mail being replaced by things like e-commerce and email, books and print moving to digital media, ladies and gentlemen, because we argue that there's a long successive change, a chain of innovation that ought to be celebrated in status quo, especially in an economy where we ought to celebrate competition, especially when the outcome means a better and more efficient service for individuals. So Wazi's harm isn't a harm of economic sharing, but a harm of regulating e-commerce, something we can protect. At what point do we intervene in this particular regard, ladies and gentlemen? We only intervene at a point in which we have a giant market that is dominating the system. And that's not true here. When the poor are hurt, and that's not true here. And when goods are harmful to these individuals, and that's not true here, ladies and gentlemen. We think, especially when the outcome means that you protect and allow for people to have better services. In Singapore, there's this thing called EduSnap that allows for individuals within the lower income bracket to be able to access private tutoring at the point in which they can't afford private tutoring. This is great for the kids of Singapore for them to be able to access, especially in this context, ladies and gentlemen. When you're talking about startups, we often require people to want to innovate to better services. What this policy creates is a vacuum and an environment of uncertainty because people are never sure. At what point can I utilize my innovation? At what point can my innovation reap rewards onto me? That's why students of APU right now won't have anything to do because their innovation will never be appreciated, ladies and gentlemen. We need to the bluebird cats in Indonesia and the black cats in the United Kingdom often have a higher power, especially when they bid and fight for government tenders that allow for them to control these services. Oftentimes, these services can grossly overcharge individuals at the point in which they have no other services. Let's acknowledge, no thank you. Sharing economy is a market response to market failure, ladies and gentlemen. At the point in which your transportation service, as well as other goods and services have failed you, we think that we have to celebrate shared economy. No thank you. Thirdly, how do we lower the barrier of entry to the economic framework? Especially when you are talking about startups, ladies and gentlemen. The creation of many of these things allows for us to close gap within economies, especially when you don't have the same financial capital as large businesses in order for you to breach the market. We think what is great about the shared economy right now is that you don't need things like factory or you don't need things like property in order for you to have a meaningful business in which you can contribute goods and services to people. Phil, I know you're feeling this extension, right? But lastly, we will argue at the point in which we have the largest accommodation provider not needing to have actual accommodation to be able to reach that market. We have the largest service provider not needing to actually retain labor. This is a good thing because it allows for an efficient system that closes the gap. Lastly, I'm going to be talking about how we empower people on the margins, in specific people who don't conform to traditional jobs because they might not be able to or because they don't want to. But before that, I'll take Luke.
So all the harms, like you saying that the red caps and the yellow caps and the black caps of all these London or whatever, who can grossly overprice the thing, is a harm of monopolies. Why does that not apply to Uber and Grab?
Okay, here's a comparative. At this point, you're not solving monopoly in totality. What we do is we tell people that there are other services that are provided onto you. That is why companies like Yellow Cat or Bluebird Cat taxis now often have to reduce their prices in order to engage in the competition that is created by Uber. That is why we remove monopoly, engage in the debate. Lastly, there are people who don't want to conform to traditional jobs or who can't do it because there are constraints that restrict them, ladies and gentlemen. What we do right now is we allow for them to access the economic framework in their own choosing and at their own behest. For example, the app called Helpings in Singapore allows for housewives who sometimes have free time, who want to do work for you at a point in which it is convenient for you. Apps like Kaudim in Malaysia allow for service providers to engage in things like plumbing or electric remodeling at whatever point is convenient for them, ladies and gentlemen. We think that this is a lot better at the point in which we decentralize the power and allow for people who may not have capital or who may not have the structure or who may not have the time to be able to participate. Closing opposition is a team that does this better than anyone because we provide for the rakyat. Not only do we give good service to you, we tell you that you can engage in better service. We will argue in closing opposition. There are many taxi drivers who want to engage in Uber because it is just more efficient, cheaper, and better for them. I've never been prouder to oppose.
Alright, and then member of opposition for the speech. Now to sum up the government side, and at least I the government with. Here.
When you go and you register for Uber, right, and you actually go and take a car, oftentimes it's been proven that they will take advantage of you. So when you go to UiTM, and obviously I've experienced with this, is that when you take a taxi from UiTM and taxis don't want to take you, oftentimes you need to give a tip, and before you actually order that taxi, you have to say, I will give a 5 ringgit tip if you actually come and pick me up. It's because these are Uber taxis that realize that there are no other services which are the same as us, and we can't take advantage of you because you will fall into the trap that we're putting you in because there are no other sufficient services within status quo. One important before I move on to my issue. She's come up here and she told you that black markets will suddenly come out. She responds, right? Number one, we think that these are factors which are probably already currently happening within your services because there are firstly no regulatory processes, but secondly, even or not because there's no form of accountability that is existing within status quo. But secondly, we think it's much easier for us to regulate all of these black market ideas when we completely ban the idea of sharing markets in comparison to us having both. Or in comparison to us allowing sharing markets to exist within status quo. Sit down. Last but not least, we think that even if we don't think that individuals would want to go towards knowing that it's a black market because of the idea that there's another alternative where I won't go to jail because I won't go to jail because I didn't go to a black market. Oftentimes, you think as an average, reasonable person, you will go to those other alternatives. So moving on, let's answer the biggest question within today's debate. Should we or should we not ban the idea of sharing economy? Several levels under that, but first and foremost, let's tackle OO's case. They come up here and talk to you about how, and the biggest form of analysis is understanding that, and this was something that also Jay talked about, is understanding that they also replace the jobs which they are currently taking away. I think this is sufficiently harmful. Study come up here and talk to you about workers' rights. As much as we think that's also very important, we're going to extend it. Your side is the side that perpetuates the harm towards individuals that will oftentimes or not have to sacrifice their rights because they have no other form of alternative, and they are forced into that circle of having to give to the expense of losing their rights, of losing the idea of minimum wage because they have no form of choice, and they are forced into that sector of doing so. It's extremely harmful. So yes, we agree. You may give more jobs to individuals on the ground, but we think those are jobs which are also lower in terms of their minimum wage, which are also more harmful towards individuals on the ground, which are also more harmful towards their ability for them to make a living every single day of their life. It is because you take away taxi services or because you make it so much cheaper on your side that you harm the ability of individuals to actually earn a proper living within status quo. It's because you harm these individuals in terms of how they are not allowed to charge higher because that's the minimum, because that's the very maximum that they can charge for them to actually get these proper services they want to provide on their side. So yes, we're willing to argue with you. Why is it very important for us to not give, at the very expense, sacrifice these people and their rights that they're willing to give? It's the exact same thing. Why we draw the parallels? If you are below the poverty line, the state gives you a subsidy in terms of your healthcare, or in terms of your insurance, because you realize it is significantly important that you have your form of insurance, although you do not see that the form of benefit exists within status quo, because you want a benefit that you can see within your eyes at the very moment. We think this is when the state needs to step in terms of protecting individuals, or in terms of protecting the workers that these are individuals, because you take advantage of these individuals under the services that you provide. Sit down. But also, we're going to argue, even if we don't think this can be solved, when we don't think it's something that Jay can say, or we can just simply improve those services or improve those regulations, we don't think so. Because if you ever were going to improve those services, then you would have to become like a taxi. You need to provide those form of insurance to those individuals. So it's not a service problem, it's the idea that it is a sharing economy. And that is the main problem that exists within your side, and it cannot be fixed unless you change it back to a traditional economy that serves workers' rights, that protects workers' rights. And even if we cannot give you the best form of services within status quo, we would obviously prioritize the idea of workers' rights in comparison to that, because we need to understand that if these are workers which are not protected, they will be shoved into your circle, or having to go below minimum wage, or having to go to the harms on your side, because within taxis, those are factors which are already disenfranchised. But before that, opening.
Okay. Engage with the idea that sharing economy promotes competition where more companies will compete by lowering prices or better protecting their workers or better providing services, right? Under your side, where there's a ban, there's no competition and no incentive. Engage with that.
Your competition that you're talking about is a competition to which companies are willing to go down lower in terms of quality, go down lower in terms of how much workers' rights are they willing to sacrifice, go down lower in terms of how much these are companies which are willing to sacrifice their workers within status quo. Within that form of competition, which is firstly not healthy, but secondly, it's just a ladder of going down the progression that you can make within the economy. It means that you charge less, means that you give cheaper services towards these individuals on the ground. So yes, you do please consumers, but we think that people within those services are people which are not being protected, and many things are people which obviously need our protection the most. But a comparative analysis happens on two levels. Firstly, we think that the services for taxis will be better under our side, and it can be better if you do eliminate the sharing economy within status quo. So I'll tackle Jay's idea of why we don't need why taxi services are something which are insignificant within status quo, and therefore we can justify the idea of sharing economy. Within a problem within status quo is because taxis have a limit to how much they can go down, and Uber and GrabCar don't have a limit. They can further go down and further take away the idea of taxi services being legitimate or being justified. Within that is a problem. If we eliminate the sharing economy, oftentimes or not, we think that independent corporations that have been Uber or have been in Grab Taxi, who obviously want to go into taxi server, if that is the only avenue they can promote to, because obviously if you've been for years and years having multiple consumers or multiple cars that you can use, then obviously you won't just scratch that away. You will go to the new avenue that you actually can find. And if anything, because of the incentive of individuals having to go into the taxi services, they will improve the services that actually happens on our side, because that is the only avenue they can do so. So yes, protection, efficiency, all of those can be fixed if we give them an avenue to actually fix it. And we think that is the most strategic way when we analyze the ability for us to fix taxi services on our side. But secondly, the comparative analysis is this. Luke came up here and told you that on their side, taxi services cannot go down to Uber, but on our side, the comparative analysis, Uber drivers can use the taxi services, and that is the exact benefit that we give on your side. Because on your side, you only benefit one group of individuals. On our side, at least we give the benefit to two groups of individuals and better the ability for both of them to access services, for both of them to generally give services within status quo. Last and not least, let's understand the comparative analysis that we give, because if the bigger chunk of analysis is understanding that we give better services, then at least on our side, would that group both stakeholders within status quo, we allow both services to also better their services within status quo. But is there an alternative within having both exist? We don't think so. So the competition and the healthy competition can only exist if you actually allow taxi services to also be involved within this competition. That form of competition can only exist if that form of competition involves taxi services, because those are competitions which can create the most conducive environment or the most conducive and best services we can provide to people. But we cannot sacrifice the majority of individuals which cannot go to Uber, which cannot sacrifice themselves to go to the Uber services. We're supremely proud to oppose.
Yeah.
I think government will now sort of debate and please invite the opposition. Yeah.
Let me begin. Gonna do three things in this whip speech. One, which side better achieves economic development? Number two, which side better develops regulation for the economy in general? And number three, uplifting the rakyat. Because this really just isn't about taxis. This is also about Jana's extension of housewives who need part-time labor opportunities. This is about poor children who can now take a picture of their math problems and find tutors in another country to help them. All these went unrebutted by closing government and opening government. We think it's a serious problem not fixed. First contention there on how do we develop better economic development. The problem with opening government, this was a strange thing in Wazir's speech. She said that the sharing economy is comprised of big monopolies with a lot of money. I'm like, no. Grab Taxi, My Taxi, was started by Sultan Thomas, who's like this awesome Malaysian debater, as a one-man property startup, which he then cashed for huge valuation. So there are small companies like the kind you incubate APU with ginormous valuations. They are not big monopolies. The reason why this comes out is because disruption is often a response, as Jay said, to a huge incumbent, like the rent-seeking unions in New York and the black cabs in London, where they are partly government-linked and make an obscene 30% profit margins by charging the cab drivers extremely high rent and profiteering off desperate immigrants from Latvia and Lithuania. That's the kind of response we give you. What does Jay give you uniquely in extension? And I read OO gives a good fight, but we've got more material than them. So the unique thing that CEO said is this, that this intervention that they propose doesn't fulfill any of the traditional criteria for government intervention. There's no market failure, in fact, it's a market improvement. There's no demerit goods here. This is just an arbitrary preservation of people with capital from people who have not. Kind of Marxist, really scary. So the idea that they get from opening jobs that they're going to destroy a lot of small businesses. Okay, a lot of small businesses in the modern innovating economy are startups, the kind you find at APU. These startups will now be uncertain whether their business models will be legal or whether they can get returns. What does this do? Number one, graduates like Mark and Nitya will not dare enter the industry, loss of human capital. Number two, seed financing like that in Magic will not dare to enter the industry, you dry up financing for startups. That's also a really bad idea. On our side, Mr. Speaker, we want to have startups and SMEs collaborate. So Kim can pick any damn cab she wants from UTIM to IMU. The idea is here, we want to make businesses competitive because let's face it, only 1 in 10 startups survive past the 5th year. This is the accepted fact. And we are very happy to put up with disruptive innovation if the unicorns we get at the end of the day are the ones that drive the modern economy. First contention, done. Second one, how do we better develop regulation? And this is where Sadiq gives this rather confusing spiel about how it's very hard to regulate because of a lot of reasons. All we said, and Jay made this very clear in the first extension, so I'm defending her, that these are arguments to improve regulation, not justify a total ban for which he gave us no yardstick whatsoever. I will now be nitty-gritty and will go through how it is actually possible to overcome Sadiq's like 5 objections. He said, number one, it's very hard to develop new regulation. Well, we had the internet, we didn't think internet regulation was possible. Guess what? It was. Just give people time. He said that these people were domiciled overseas. It's very hard to charge people in different countries. Jay already told you we can try people on the soil where the offense was committed, even if your company is headquartered in the Cayman Islands. Further, I give you fact knowledge that the International Labour Organization and free trade agreements between countries and the TPP all cover the ways of charging and making people responsible for crimes that take place even if you are a shell company overseas. This is already being taken care of. Third response, he said, oh, the buyer beware, you can't charge the individual because he's an individual contractor. Well, yeah, charging for rape, throw him in jail. Simple. He also further said they can sell credit card information. We think that this is precisely why GrabCar has come up with anonymized number screening so that your data is protected. The whole point is why we legalize the economy and improve this is so we get better privacy protections. And let's be frank, all of us order, we tag people on Instagram, our data footprint is like shitting all over the web, Mukuf's bad jokes. So we already release a lot of data online and we don't give a shit about it. So that's totally okay. But here's the thing, it is when the industry is legal that we can have oversight and publicity over it. Yes, Luke.
What are the incentives of these corporations to add these regulations when they are already doing so well and they have faced no competition?
The law. Yeah, the law's incentive. Okay, now, so Jana gave you this extension and the counterfactual, and this is important because this closing off another unique contribution. Because the sharing economy still happens, albeit smaller and informally. We talked about CP radio cap sensors, we talked about people putting up the ads on Craigslist from 1997 up to 2007, 25,000 sublets on Craigslist, really by your own risk, telling people to come over on Netflix and chill, whatever that means. We think if it's going to happen anyway, we rather bring it into the light so people get publicity to discuss these changes. This is the approach of legislation. If it is legal, Mr. Speaker, they can discuss it in Parliament, they can discuss it on forums. If it is illegal and you want to develop regulations, the state is obliged to jail people who are found to have subletted this illegally. Which is to say, people won't come forward to discuss the issues, you force the discussion underground, you've lost an opportunity to develop better regulation. In fact, in the real world, because people don't really use examples, McDonald's has already been forced to give its contract workers legal protections equivalent to full workers as of September 2015. So it is possible for the world to develop better regulations so long as it still remains legal. Second contention, done. Third contention, uplifting the rakyat, which is where we get this strange idea from Luke, that people cannot jump from industry to industry because, they drive a Proton Vira and a Myvi that will not qualify as a swanky Grab car. No. Here's the thing. The transferable skill, throwing a bone to Mark and Nitya here, is that you must be able to drive. Driving, that's fine. But the idea is this, we don't want them to have complicated licensing that they face in the cab unions in New York City, because here's the fact, a lot of cab drivers in New York City and Singapore actually also moonlight on Uber and GrabCar because they don't have any rental charges on their income they make from that. So we have to get over this idea that we're protecting taxi drivers because taxi drivers themselves are on Uber because they're being fleeced by the government-linked unions. Let's bring this back to Jana's fourth extension and why this is so important. Because this debate isn't just about taxes. It's not just about economic development. This is about that housewife who can now get an income for spare time and can get independence from her husband because she's on Gautim. This is about that poor kid studying for SPM who needs tuition but who cannot afford it, who can now take a picture of his math problem and send it to a tutor in Vietnam and overcome the wealth gap between him and the prep school kid from 3KBU. This is about people in the third world who come to New York City and can now make a living on Uber rather than scrimp and save and borrow from loan sharks to pay the $10,000 licensing fee just to join NYC's Yellow Top cab. All these people at the margins deserve a better life. All these people at the margins were given a chance because of the disruption of the sharing economy. And it's all these people you have to answer for when you ban the economy and consign them back to the mercy of the capitalist pigs and overlords that I've never been prouder to oppose.
Thank all teams for the debate. Please remind us this time around so we are.
Thanks, Mark.
versus like so, now we want or should we have the same? Right. That's just right. Okay. Okay, so mine is C4. Okay. Williams was first to C4, second to CG, third to O, fourth to OG. But you won't be able to join the discussion. Are you okay with that? Okay, see. Who's the office?
Do tell me the current judgment.
Okay. Who's the office? Right, since you moved here, so I felt that so I thought let's not discuss so much on top management. We can discuss it later slightly better. So let's talk about the form. So Phil, why not why form?
He was there, he wasn't there to actually
Like to me, I felt that I'm more inclined to be older because of a few reasons. Firstly, I felt this is the standard like root differentiation with growth fulfillment, especially. I felt to a certain extent that when you're given like it's the recording thing of
Shut down already.
shut down.
Yeah.
Right. So I felt in that regards, like the fact that they have 30 minutes more, like to actually prepare, I felt that the quality or the sheer content that CG actually has to provide should be more impactful, if not equally impactful. I felt that to a certain extent, I felt that the dynamics of the debate itself also catered in the way that the argumentations of the say, like I think to a certain extent, didn't exactly deal with the fact that Owen has really reacted a lot of arguments and they instead went to the whole competition argument that was already taken out. And the whole idea that right now, taxi drivers have the incentive to repeat themselves because today's competition is kind of like a self-fulfilling work because the only competition that taxi drivers face on the only incentive for them to improve is because Uber and Grab exist. So we need to take that out. I don't see any analysis regarding why we don't take Uber like in a way but instead focus on improving services once there's been a monopoly. So I don't think I thought that the problem that governments and the whole is that they are removing a monopoly to replace it with existing ones that is already present, and in that I was that way. But me, I felt both things. But further separating it, I felt that CG ultimately the most like viable argumentation that I had from them was the whole idea of this piece of accessibility into this sharing market, which is to say you government always needs to protect the poorer society and also on the lowest common denominator. That's why you perform our design the energy to protect that. I felt this was tackled by Lucas, but also I felt it was really tackled by Jay when they say, look, the government in a way have to protect them, but generally society is already moving towards that, and the ease of accessibility is like what they say, transferable states and driving so it's really not harmful. But secondly, like people always get replaced, but that's not an argument that is stopping it, especially if it provides more benefits to the people ultimately. So I thought that was really kind of enough to actually become that point. But I felt OG had more standing in this, even though the argumentations were eventually rebutted. I felt the sheer volume that they had in OG was really something that's very good. Like the whole idea of this vicarious liability of why you cannot put Uber at blame, because ultimately they were going to reward or default on the whole idea of them being individual contractors. I felt like I only got the answer in a way from CEO when they started talking about how exactly is it that jurisdiction now has already constantly progressed in the way that you can always hold them accountable even though they are not onshore. But also on the other idea, I felt that they were the ones who actually had more characterization into what is actually the politics, even though I don't think some parts of it are relevant for example data mining, which I thought was brilliant coming from the edition or that, so it doesn't really matter. But I thought this idea of why the big entrance fee or the big, like the only justification for them to rely on on taxi drivers or actually attempting to justify the big cost or the big barrier to entry is to actually say the big barrier of entry is to ensure that protection goes back to the ultimately. So even if it's a huge initial cost, at least under their side, there's more protection towards the people. So to a certain extent, I felt even though Luke came out with the analogy of like it's more of a hassle to go through, like for example, setting a pay 35,000 rather than just downloading an app and therefore allow you to make I felt that all those are basically already agreed with what Open can say, and to that extent, I don't think it's that distinct for me to actually value as a separate contribution that can put them over OG. That's how I felt about OGCG.
Because basically it wasn't something actually it's like just already was in a sense. So she said June 5. You also see the part where also mentioned about the particular mention about where they can when it's not using overseas what's the same with exactly it's just
So to me, I felt the only new contribution to them was the barrier entrance. But I felt comparatively, considering that all arguments are rebutted, that's why we do not mention we see contribution based on all this. It's more in a way fairer for us to actually create opening for. Okay, let's talk about op-eds. I felt why SEO. I think, to me personally, SEO extensions, each of its own were really much like I felt beneficial, like comparatively to OpeningOp. I felt that I really like OpeningOp idea of that even contribution-wise I felt, the problem that I had with OpeningOp position was that I felt that the ES speech were more or less a repetition of what Mark has already told us, and Mark himself has already done a very good job in like this why exactly he said that and putting and neutralizing our content. So in a way, I felt opening houses suffered in a way that both second speeches were quite derivative of opening, but even Sunday speech was more or less a really explanation what extending of what Sunday was there as established. But beyond that, I felt like there are points basically on how sharing economies replaces job into spaces. I felt was fully crystallized by Jay when she said why exactly is this the way of us disruptive industries and why exactly is it that we never stop it. But also secondly, on the more improving life of consumers, which I felt was also something that CEO did a much better job in that strategy, how exactly does it improve. It's not only options, but also telling us why like in a way, all talk about consumers, CEO talk about the producers, the providers, and I